There's a saying that goes, little kids, little problems, big kids, big problems. I never got that when my kids were little. I never understood it, because when they were little, I had all the problems. I had to carry them, I had to diaper them, I had to do everything. When they were big, they could do it themselves, and then they eventually went out, and I had hours. I didn't get that saying. But the saying is, watch your child have pain, and in the beginning maybe you can help them, and when they're older, you gotta watch them help themselves. So where's the transition go from the first time that they fall and they get hurt to when they're an adult and they get hurt, and our response? How does that come in? Our job as parents is to teach our children how to regulate their emotions, right? So it's always a shock to the system, whether you're big or whether you're little. When you fall, you're running, you have a goal in mind, here you go, boom, you fall. It's a shock to the system. So the first thing that they do is they look at you. Now, you can assess the situation very clearly, and you could be, you know how hard they fell, you know what they fell on, and you could look at them and say, you okay? You okay? You need a hug, right? And they'll be like, I need a hug. All right, come on. So you're teaching them that sometimes you just need a hug. Sometimes, let me take a look at this. Let me see if there's a scraped skin, because we can fix that. Let me see if there's blood, because we can fix that. There's different assessments that we can take a look at, right? And you're teaching them. Now, does it feel better? You ready to go back and play? Yeah, I'm okay. All right. Give a hug, and off they go. So the next time they fall, you can look at them and go, you okay? Want to check? And then they check. They self-regulate their emotion. They look, they see whether it's big or small. They give it a brush, right? And I'm okay. And off they go. And eventually, they'll fall, and you'll hear them from the other room going, I'm okay, right? Self-regulating. It's a beautiful thing to have self-regulating mechanisms inside, that we can regulate our emotions. We can tell when we're watching mature adults that they've learned how to self-regulate. They're not just flying off the handle every time they don't agree with something. People who do fly off the handle every time they don't agree with something have not been told and not been taught how to self-regulate their emotions, right? That the whole world doesn't evolve around what they feel is right or wrong, and they have to learn how to get along in society, and flipping out and going crazy isn't necessarily the most ideal way to handle 99.9% of the situations out there, right? Okay, so what I would like to talk about all the way to the end is, how do you get to the point that you let your child get hurt and not jump in to kiss the boo-boo? To not jump in and say, I'm going to call that kid's parent, I'm going to call that teacher. All those things, kissing the boo-boo, that has to stop at a certain point. You're not going to take a 10-year-old and say, hey, let me kiss your boo. It doesn't work like that. So how do we switch? It's done with an eye. It's done with a little bit of a smile. It's done with a concerned eye. The kid will look at you, your child will look at you, and your job is to look back and go like this. You okay? All that says is, you okay? And then they'll take a look and they'll go, okay. And eventually they won't have to look. They'll say to themselves, am I okay? Now, a lot of times, teenagers will not tell you what's going on in their life. They'll come home and they'll be like, you say, how was everything from school? And they'll be like, it was good, or it's every other day, they just don't want to talk about it. It could be because they're in the regulation mode. They're trying to figure out their emotions and the best way to handle all of the billions of pressures that went on during the day. They have the peer pressure, they have the teacher pressure, and sometimes they have a few different teachers. They have what they made a mistake. Maybe they didn't do their homework right, or maybe they didn't do well on a test, or maybe their friend made fun of them for something, and there's a lot of emotions going on, and they're not necessarily holding on to that top best thing that happened. I like to say to my kid, what was the best thing that happened? What was the worst? Not the second they walk in the door, but either at dinner time or at alone time when I'm putting them to bed. Best thing, worst thing. And if they tell me the best thing, I'll say, and what'd you do when you felt great like that? How did that feel? What'd you do with that? Did you own it? Did you pack it up for a nice day that you can remember those feelings? And then when they tell me the worst thing, what'd you do with those emotions? I don't know. I'm still living in it. I hear you. I hear you. The way I would do it is this. Now that you're not in that situation, how can you see yourself responding a little different? So when it happens tomorrow or another time, what do you think was the intent? Do you think it was like light and you took it deep, or do you think it was deep and you took it light? Are you in alignment with what happened, or are you sort of overreacting or underreacting? You're helping them by doing those things, helping them to regulate their emotions so that when you're not there, they'll be okay. The hardest part of adulting is not just teaching them how to regulate their emotions, but letting them regulate and not jumping in. Man, when they get to those teen years and watching them go through the pain and helping them get to the other side if they come to you, but knowing that you've already taught them the skills that they need to get through. Watching them as adults make mistakes and not fixing it, and just holding your breath and knowing, trusting yourself that you raise strong children, that they will be able to get through and to regulate their lives back into an emotional stance that is healthy for them. And you can sit back and be proud afterwards. But try as much as you can after you teach them how to live, to let them live. And that's your Bubbie Pin for today. I hope it's been helpful. Leave your comments down below, private message me, give me a thumbs up if you can, and share this with your friends if you think it'd be helpful.